An emotional weekend awaits as Tarik Skubal makes his return to Comerica Park.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Friday, August 28th, 2026. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and that is, of course, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And on today's show, the headliner is obviously Tarik Skubal's return to the city of Detroit. We'll talk about that. I got a few other things I want to point out too. Some internal just like performances at the lower levels of the minor leagues. I also want to talk about old friends and like former players or people leaving the organization. We got Dan Hasty I want to talk about. Cincinnati Reds waiving some of their players as their season is over. Like there's a handful of other stuff, but obviously the biggest talking point and the biggest story going into this weekend for the Detroit Tigers is the fact that they not only face the Dodgers, they face Tarik Skubal in game one. Off rip, buddy. Friday night at Copa. It should be a beautiful night weather-wise. Tarik Skubal on the bump, but in Dodger blue. I think the big talking point here, and we'll preview like the X's and O's aspect of this right at the end of the show. But the big talking point here is like the fan reaction, right? And there's already a discourse online about like, are we going to boo him? Are we going to cheer him? What's the reaction from the fans going to be? What's the reaction from the players going to be, etc. Honestly, and I won't be at this game, but I know a lot of people that will, and it's probably going to be a borderline sold out crowd, if not sold out. Which for a team that's almost 10 games under 500 at the end of August, it, shows the impact of it. I would cheer him. Whether you like it or not, this dude is the best player that this organization has developed, like homegrown, like drafted and developed everything internally. Zero other organizations had their hand in his development, right? He's the best player that they have developed within in ages. I mean, like probably since Verlander, no? He won back-to-back Cy Youngs. He was the best player on a team that had a 0.2% chance of making the postseason after the trade deadline and then made it to snap a 10-year-long, a decade-long playoff drought. And whether it matters to you or not, he got traded. And I understand all the optics that have surrounded, right? We've talked, of all people, right? Like we've talked about this on this show every day leading up to his trade away. Like was he going to sign somewhere else in the offseason? Yes. I think it was the right decision to trade him. But he did still publicly say, I want to play for the Tigers the rest of the year, and then got traded. Do I believe him? Not even really necessarily, to be honest with you. But that doesn't ultimately matter in my head. He was the star of the team, and he did not publicly ask to leave. I will always root for Tarik Skubal. I will always be a fan of Tarik Skubal, even if the last couple of months before the end of this saga, everything surrounding it was unbelievably annoying and obnoxious. And I begged him to just shut up and stop talking at some point on this show, probably multiple times, to be honest with you. All of that is still true. At the end of the day, I am going to how do I not make this morbid? Like I was going to say when I die, hopefully that's no time soon. But when I die, I'm going to have far more positive memories surrounding Tarik Skubal's MLB career than I am negative. And I don't think I wouldn't boo him. Now, what do I think's going to happen? I think he'll probably get a large amount of boos, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying, like I wouldn't boo him from an ivory tower stance or like I'm better than you because I'm not booing. Go ahead, bring the boo birds out, dude. I'm all about it. At the end of the day, it's a competition and it's fun. Like I will say, even all of this being said, and I'll talk about this again in the preview, the Dodgers preview at the end of the show. I want to win that game more than I've wanted to win a single game for the Tigers season in weeks. Okay. I don't even care if maybe I don't even care if they lose the game. I just want to hit Tarik Skubal more than I want anything else this weekend. Right. And that's like the competitive nature of sport and all of that. But that doesn't mean I have to boo him when he takes the field. It can be a sign of respect. Thank you for everything you did. Now we're between the lines. Let's go to war. And that's probably how I'll view it. Okay. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Again, we'll preview in segment 3. We'll preview the series at the end. I want to talk a little bit about the Cincinnati Reds waiving 2 major league players. And we've seen some teams do this over the last couple of years where they get maybe they don't sell at the deadline, but then they like sputter out of the race post deadline. And so they just put some of their expiring contracts on waivers with a month and a half left for a competitive team to maybe pick up. And then like ultimately they clear up a roster spot for a younger player, maybe to get some experience, and they get the rest of whatever is remaining of the contract, off the books for their team the rest of the year. And the Reds did that with Eugenio Suarez and TJ Friedel. So I want to talk about that, and we will do that right after this. First, I'm going to talk to you about our friends over at Indeed. Support of today's show comes from Indeed-sponsored jobs. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, well, Indeed-sponsored jobs help connect employees with candidates to employers to match specific needs, right? Like skills, certifications, location. So less time is spent searching and more time is spent finding the right fit. People are actually finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's so many great features with Indeed sponsored jobs. I think one of the great things is kind of just highlighting the fact that an addition can have a ripple effect with everyone around them, right? If you do bring in the perfect fit for your company or place of work, when you find someone that kind of checks all those boxes, it makes the entire group better. And we see that in sports, obviously, all the time. But that's why finding qualified candidates matters so much, and why tools like Indeed Sponsored Jobs can help make that process even easier. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less time, less stress, more results. When you get the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this program. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back on Monday recapping a series against the Dodgers, which, that they haven't been like the world beaters of all world beaters over the last month, but they're still the Dodgers. And you're getting the gauntlet in terms of starting pitching against. So we will talk about that in segment 3. First, I want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds waiving Eugenio Suarez and TJ Friedel. Friedel's a lefty outfielder, which the Tigers already have 50 million of, and he also has an OPS that starts with a number 4 this season. So I don't think that's much of a conversation. We can kind of move on. It's not really a fit. Suarez is the big one that everybody wants to talk about, right? Do the Tigers claim Eugenio Suarez and add him to the lineup, etc.? I'm going to be completely real with you, okay? I'm going to keep it $150. I have zero interest in this. This is a guy that everyone in the world wanted last winter, and I got yelled at by people because I was not as passionate about that. It wasn't even like I came on here and was like, don't sign Suarez. I think I remember saying, maybe not. I think I remember saying, like, if they were to sign Suarez this, past winter, I wouldn't necessarily be mad about it. But I never loved the idea. And I think this season is kind of evidence as to why. He's barely hitting 200. He strikes out more than almost anyone in baseball and has 19 home runs at the end of August. If he was on pace for 40 or 50 bombs again, then sure, right? I don't care if he hits 200. But his slug is 410 this year, dude. He doesn't get extra base hits. He doesn't get hits, period, unless they're home runs. And he has a league average walk rate. His OBP is under 300. He's also an awful defender at third base at this point and can't run. He has one tool, and it's power. And even that is not what it was a year or two ago. And this is not supposed to be like a Eugenio Suarez bash fest. Like, his OPS is 700. Like, that's far from awful. It's just where the Tigers are at this point in the season. I would much prefer them to just continue giving at-bats to young guys. I don't need Eugenio Suarez taking at-bats away from Hao-Yu Lee. That seems very counterintuitive. And to be quite frank, Hao-Yu Lee's OPS is higher than Suarez's this year, even with the month of May that Hao-Yu Lee had, where his OPS was like 450. I just, like, who are you wanting to take at-bats away from to plug him into the lineup card? You could DH him, I guess. I don't think the pros outweigh the cons given where the Tigers are at this point. Maybe this is the way I'll put it. Eugenio Suarez is not going to carry the Tigers into the postseason with his 705 OPS and negative defense. The Tigers need a whole lot more than another guy that can't get hits and only produces runs via homer. He'd fit right in, I guess. But he's not going to help the clutch hitting situation. He's not going to help the hitting situation, really, period. And he's not going to help the defense. He's just going to be another guy that runs into a home run once a week. We have enough of those. And he's even more of an extreme version of that. Next, I want to talk about Cameron Fluke, the Detroit Tigers' first-round pick from this year. Now, usually, I've said this a few times already, but usually we do not see pitchers pitch in their draft years, right? They get drafted and then they're shut down for the season because they already have a full season of collegiate level workload, in their arm. Fluke's different because he got hurt, and so they built him back up and have been pitching him, and he, in now 3 outings as a pro, has not allowed an earned run, which is awesome to see. Big, lanky, the fastball looks good. His last outing, I think he went 3 innings, and this is just 2 nights ago as you listen to this. 3 innings, 4 strikeouts, no earned. Beautiful. I think the biggest thing, shout out Tigers Minor League Report, man. Just the absolute best in the business. Great human beings, too. People I call friends. You look at his outing and kind of like the pitch mix that he was offering in that outing. The fastball is something fierce, man. And like, you knew that, right? That was kind of the calling card and the bread and butter on draft night as well. But he, really, really looks not polished, because I think there's still a lot more to polish. I think he's still raw and kind of rough around the edges, but he looks pro ready. I guess I'll put it that way. The fastball gets a ton of swing and miss. It's a mid-90s velo fastball that can even reach upper 90s velo. It had 20 IVB, which for those, maybe you're not hip to IVB, induced vertical break. 20 inches of IVB on a mid-90s fastball is gross. That is a very, very encouraging and impressive number. Now, there's some like baseball can't get out of its own way. And so you have like the rumors that maybe they're using different baseballs at different levels and that, IV 20 IVB and where he's at when he gets promoted is going to, axe down to like 15 or 16 or whatever. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The fact of the matter is it's a high velo pitch with a lot of movement that is getting a lot of swing and miss so far in his major league career. So the kid is really good. I think he's someone to get really excited about. And very quietly, the Tigers 3 months ago, people like myself, I mean, we were publicly bashing the lack of pitching within the organization. And now you got a pretty strong, like, young core, and not even just the guys you added through trade and through the draft, which obviously are the highlights, right? And kind of the big names. But you even have guys internally that now have really turned a leaf and that you can get really excited about, in terms of like pitch mix. And again, like it just seems like they're kind of breeding a lot of like fastball oriented guys that have really effective heaters. So maybe we can talk about that on an off day in the future of this offseason. But there's a solid, I don't know, maybe even 10 starting pitchers in the organization right now that I'm pretty at least intrigued by at a minimum. And Fluke is obviously at the top of that list. He's the number one pitching prospect in the organization, I think, bar none. Okay, 2 more things before we get into the Dodgers preview. 1, Michael Fulmer signs with the New York Yankees. Is that a big deal? No. Michael Fulmer will always be one of my favorite Tigers ever. There was just something about that era when the Tigers were just in free fall and they were trading away all their players, and like the new era was upon us, and all of the old guard had kind of either just left in free agency or again were traded, especially in 2017. Michael Fulmer was the glimmer of hope, right? Rookie of the year 2016. He was must-see TV for that entire summer, and then going into the summer, obviously, of 2017. And then injuries caught up with him. He stopped being a starting pitcher by the time COVID even, came around. And then he really kind of, reinvented himself and kind of had a career resurgence post-COVID as a reliever. And it was like, you know what? He can't stay healthy enough to be a starting pitcher at the major league level anymore, but he still has stuff. And he was a really good reliever for the Tigers for about 1.5 years before they moved on from him. And now he's still getting work, right? He's pitched for the Angels. He's pitched for the Cubs. Like, he's kind of just like been this journeyman that's bounced around, but least we forget, right? That's the beautiful thing about baseball is, guys can reinvent themselves and carve out niche roles for themselves and kind of become that like journeyman that bounces around. But you go back in a time machine 10 or 15 years and you're talking about a guy that at one point was like the prince that was promised and was the guy that Detroit Tigers fans everywhere wanted to hang their hats on as like the future of the team and, next Verlander and all that stuff. And before the injuries piled up, he really was that. You go look at his numbers in 2016 and 17. He was a dog. And his Yankees debut wasn't bad. He showcased a nasty curveball. I hadn't thrown that thing in probably 10 years, but golly, good for him. Last thing before the preview, Dan Hasty leaving the Tigers organization, leaving the West Michigan Whitecaps at the end of the season. For those who are unaware, Hasty has been the voice of the Whitecaps for my entire adult life at a minimum. I think he said 10, like 12, 15, maybe even years. It's been a while. And he has been so good for the organization. A guy that interacts with fans and is very like publicly online and kind of has like a personality with him as well. Just a guy that I don't think I've ever met him in person. I feel like I'd remember that, but at some point it all becomes a blur. But in all the interactions I've had with him, whether online or not, have been so positive. And he has just been such a great kind of ambassador for the West Michigan Whitecaps team and kind of the Tigers organization at a minor league level as well. So whatever is next for Mr. Hasty, I will wish him nothing but the best, and I will always root for him and be a fan of his as well. So thank you so much to all the dedication to this team and this organization that we all love, and best of luck with whatever comes next. Okay, let's preview the Dodgers. We'll do that right after this. First, I'm going to talk to you about our friends over at Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never really designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software for sales, accounting, inventory, marketing. Everything works in one place. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. The best organizations know success isn't just about talent, right? It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. That's true in sports, just like it is in business. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. The big bad Dodgers coming to town. They are 80-53 as I record this, but they do have a Thursday afternoon game, so that could go in either direction. It's crazy that it's August and they could lose out and be, a game under 500? It's wild. The super team in baseball that everybody hates. Offensively, it's the usual suspects, right? Ohtani having a great year. Freddie Freeman, maybe off to a little bit of a slower start, but still having a great year. Max Muncy, still doing it, man. Just like a not talked about because he's not getting, paid as much or winning the awards that everybody else is. Max Muncy has been a staple in the heart of the Dodgers lineup for, again, pretty much my entire adult life as well. Tommy Edman even having a pretty solid year for them offensively and obviously defensively. But there are some cracks, right? This is not, even though they're almost 30 games over 500, Mookie Betts, OPS starts with the number 6. He's not having a great season. Kyle Tucker's having an awful year for how much he's getting paid. Teoscar Hernandez having a pretty subpar year as well. It's just a lot shallower of a lineup than maybe we are used to, I guess I'll put it that way. I mean, it's a... It's hard to walk the line of yes, they are still the Dodgers and they're still really good and they're still probably the best roster in baseball. But it's not 1 through 9 they have, Babe Ruth up there. There is some lack of depth in the lineup, etc. Tarik Skubal versus Drew Anderson. Skubal has a 3.38 ERA since leaving Detroit. Not bad by any stretch, but also human and not elite numbers we're used to seeing from him. Maybe he had 11 strikeouts last time out. We know that'll never be an issue. He's allowed runs in every outing, though, and multiple runs in all but one. No scouting report really needed here. We all know what we're getting with him. A lot of fastballs and changeups and a lot of pitches in the zone. Anderson, please just don't get rocked. Hilariously, Anderson is one of the best strikeout and whiff pitchers we're throwing this entire season, or series rather, goodness, which probably isn't a great sign, but here we are. Blake Snell against Cater Montero. This is Snell's 4th start back from injury, and he has barely pitched this season. Every outing, he's gone at least 6 innings and 1 run or fewer, and it's business as usual, man. He's really good. He's elite at getting strikeouts and whiffs and not allowing hits. His one kryptonite is he allows a lot of walks. Cater Montero, not super confident in the guys in him and Fromber that are don't get whiffs, but are going to have a ton of success versus the Dodgers. That seems like a tall task. But anyway, he's been proving people wrong all year, so hopefully that continues. And then the finale is Glasnow versus Fromber. Ohtani might get an inning as well. Valdez, same combo as Montero. Won't go well, I don't think, if he's not going to be able to get swing and miss. Glasnow, this is his 2nd start back from injury, which is, I don't know, interesting. He pitched in April, injured list in May, just came back, fresh start, or his first start back, rather, was 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts against the Braves. He's one of the most talented starters in all of baseball. He just can't stay healthy. This was fascinating. 11-36 start, 11, can I talk? 136 starts in 11-year career. That's wild. But some of the best starting stuff in baseball, highest K rate, in the league year in and year out. Pretty inefficient, another thing with him, but we'll see. Rumor has it Ohtani's going to throw an inning here as well, which is, I don't know. We'll see. It's so Tigers for them to get Glasnow and Ohtani in the same day when they're, in free fall. But I don't know. I don't have high hopes for this weekend. My one thing, just hit Tarik Skubal, please. Please just hit Tarik Skubal. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow. Peace and love. Monday. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers. Where's my thing? There.